My name is Emily Casella, and we're here at the Chesterton Art Center for my solo show, In Emotion on Entrain. We are going to go through each of these pieces in the show and go in depth to what each individual piece means and the different process that goes along with it. When we start off the journey in the underground train station that I have created for the installation, we start off with these different life maps. And so you can see each of these maps correspond to a different path that one can take in life. We have the relationship map, the career map, and the religious map. And if we take a closer look, you can see all the different stops on the journey. And so this particular piece is a graphic design print. It was made in Illustrator, and it shows the different religions that one can take. It starts at the ground level down here, which is more spiritual and more humanistic side of things, that anybody can be, like groundedness, sentient free will, soul, intuition, inner human topics that everyone experiences in life due to the nature of being alive. And then as we go through the map, it breaks down into the different areas, and it kind of made it go into like the more beginning of religion, where it had more pantheon type of god systems and also ancestral worship and more of the more nature side of things with religion. And then it goes into the monotheistic religions, and over here we have the three big religions and things that go along with that. And then it also branches into another tube line, which could be irreligion or nihilism or skepticism, and those kind of things that people experience when they are going through these monotheistic religions. And then it goes off and branches into more Eastern religions, other non-Western religions, as well as it goes through the different maps. I wanted to make sure that it was easily able for a person to stop at the different stops and then go along that way. And as we go over into the chest and head area, we get back into this idea of more humanistic, three-dimensional real world applications of like breathing techniques and different things that most religions do, which involve something to do with either saying things out loud or singing things out loud, which I put within the mouth area. And then there's also some different puns that go along with it. And then it ends up in the universe, and it kind of takes us from the ground up into the sky at the top there. Mm-hmm. It's not so much that, people don't have to travel back and forth between different places, but if they did want to travel to these different spots, that they could, and they're not just stuck in their one place that they started off at. Much like a train, you can always pass by things and not see other things and whatnot. So, and then over here we have the relationship map, not only relationship to others, but also with yourself. And over here we start off with gender identity and sexual identities are the two arms that people experience within themselves and the different paths you could take for that. And then it goes into this rotation of gender and then into more relationship-esque things. It starts off as a single person, and then it gets branched into all the different ways that you can be in relationship with others. And then there's a cluster over here about different families and how those different relationships intermingle with those. You can see we have like parents and all the iterations of those, siblings, cousins and nephews, and those type of things that go along with that. If you follow the green line, that's opposite of the immediate family, and we go down into the lower station, we have things like clubs, friends, close friends, and then it goes into like engagement, spouse, marriage, and then that kind of wraps around into a walking path back into the family unit. I also have things like widow and estrangement, because those two things also can play a big role in society and how people think about each other. And then I also went up the lake to like boss, co-worker, mentor, peers, and pen pals, because those things are what people outside of their family, can also experience as people who they see a lot in their everyday life and kind of influence them in their lives. I also have clubs and those type of things in the community section, right? So it goes from like your person in and of yourself, and then it goes into communities, And then I also have walking paths that go into idols and imaginary friends, because those are also can influence your idea of being in relation with others. And idols could be anywhere from like religious connotations to celebrities to other things. We also have like fictional imaginary friends and those type of things that also influence us. So many different paths to go along that, but it's a nice way to kind of look and see where you are in relationship to yourself and then also with others. Okay, and now we're coming down here, and as you can hear, hopefully through the audio, you can hear the train is passing by that is just down the street. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to create a transportation underground system, is because you could hear the train coming from the outside. So you always have that ambiance around here anyways at the center. We have another map, which is the career map. It shows all different careers that one could take. It is not all, because careers are expansive and there's so many different options. But I tried to just group them by topics or like areas so that it doesn't get too terribly specific. But this one starts over here at 18th Road, which is kind of the time where you, at least in the United States, have to decide what you want to do. You want to go to college or work or whatever, or you go to your first job. You have like fast foods, delivery, military, because those are the times, and like retail, those are kind of like these early jobs that people can get into. And then it goes to different things such as social media, and then it goes into college, and then there's like athlete section, which then branches off into the restricted zone, the restricted access. And then you have also this line of artists, entertainers, musicians. So those types of things that are more entertainment oriented as careers. And then also this one goes into trades, mathematics, cosmetology, and some more of these trade school, fabrication, and whatnot. There's also university walk lines, science walk lines, and so these other things are kind of connected with each other. And so you keep going around, you go into more technical based work and education, like veterinary and lawyers and judges, and then it goes into the more governmental type of things. And there's also things like aerospace and land and air and how jobs that connect to the earth and beyond. And then it goes down into the different junctions of different ages. There's like a 40th one, a 30, and then 50 and 60. And then I have that finish at retirement, but then you can also go back to any other paths and try something different if you want. Like the religious map, you're not just stuck in one spot. If you don't want to be, you can always just like visit and then go to a different spot. And then I also have here, which is the millionaire section, ended up being highlighted, which was an accident because I originally had a bunch of these things highlighted, but then I realized that we didn't need them, so I took them all away, and somehow the millionaire, funny enough, stayed. A restricted access line. You have things like billionaires, big banks, energy executives, big tech, and monarchy. So some of these things that you kind of have to be in an inheritance to, and it's not something that you can easily get to in life. So there's many different ways. There's other things like healthcare professionals and this hand. And so again, it's just another way to figure out and walk through life and travel that way. And then next to the maps is the waiter and their table and wheel of options. And so with the waiter is waiting for their one true love. And the sentence is, "Where's the one?" And it's made out of ceramic wood, paper, and mixed media. With this piece, you can see that this person has these options on the table, and this ceramic wheel spins, and then the viewer can take a look at the different cards to let the viewers know about the different people on the wheel. They spoof on like dating and how you're supposed to find the one in life, how kind of troubling that can be. And also, there's a lot of different options and people in the world. It's like, how do you just find one person that's going to affect you? And as you can see, the relationship map is right next to it, showing and reminding the viewers that like you're in relationship to a lot of other things and not just the one person. It's a quite a fun, interactive piece. And all of the different people have their different sayings that go along with them. And they're all coordinated to each color of the color wheel. Waiter here is obviously looking off to the side and kind of ignoring the people that are on the table and just waiting for this imaginary person that may or may may or may not ever come. It's one of my ceramic figures, again playing with the void. If you're avoiding or trying to like figure out something, they have, my ceramic people have this kind of open hole because they're not quite fully there yet. This one is also in black and white and in color, which will play once we get into the train station of that dichotomy of feeling both, I mean, neither here nor there with their life choices and thinking about those things. So the waiter's just looking off to the side, looking at the viewer who's going to be standing where the camera is, and they would be spinning the wheel, looking at the waiter as they judgingly look at you while you look at for another person. Kind of just grumpy person that's not too thrilled about the whole prospects of dating. So once the viewer sees all the different life maps and meets the waiter and all of the nice people on the wheel of options, they go for a spin, then it's time to go to the train. So this is the main space of the train station. It is a metaphor for people's different paths in life. So establish the different roads and different things that you can choose or not choose or express yourself as or not in society. And so when we hop onto the train, then you can start to see different individuals' contemplations about their different life points in life. Here we are in the train station, and so we have different points in which you can disembark onto a train car, but then also we have ceramic figures that show the landscape of the place. And this ceramic figure is, you think you can walk all over me, but I'm just telling you where to go. And this sets the stage for what sort of train station looks like. You can see that there's patterns on the ceramic piece itself. You can see like these shadowy figures walking around. There's elevators, there's different places to look through. You can go through the different tunnels to walk around, so you can imagine yourself walking through as like a tiny person around and on top of this ceramic figure. Now this ceramic figure is a more joyful type of look to them. They are kind of laughing in this frozen pose with a smile, open to the viewers and them looking at them. And hilarious thought about you walk all over me, but I'm just telling you where to go. Because a lot of times people come in and out of your life, and sometimes those have a good impact, and sometimes it does not have a very helpful impact. These people will come and go out of your lives back and forth, and like who's going to stay and who's not, which is another theme that goes into the other rooms. But this one kind of sets the stage. You can also see patterns and colors that will be popping up in different pieces, brings all together moment in time, and allows you to get into the mindset of waiting at the station, because that's where we're at, this waiting point in the first half of this room. So we can take a little bit closer look on the sides. We have here is some graffiti that says, "By being loving towards ourselves and others," which is a response to another piece on the other side over here. And we'll come back to that in a little bit. So this is also the newest ceramic piece out of all of ceramic figures. This one was made in 2023. Okay, so when we turn around, we come to the first drawing of the installation. And so this drawing is, "If trees are free, we can't just let them be," which was also made in 2023. And this particular image shows a person waiting on the edge of a train car. You can see there's a little pigeon, and then you have some graffiti words of love in a door, which means kind of like to be mesmerized or obsessed in appreciation of something. There's three figures in the piece. You have this person in ebony pencil, and then you can see like the true inside color and thoughts and feelings inside them through the reflection. And then as you go onto this side, there is this third person that's peacefully sleeping and waiting on the train, where it's a nice contrast to the heavy emotion that this particular figure is feeling. And as we look over here, we can see advertisement that's like find your true home above the trees, and then it's new high rises and get a quote today. And then you have the title in this one, which is trees are free, we just can't let them be, which shows this tension between wanting to create a lot more things in society and how society always wants to build something new and better and advance in technology, and also be above their getting away from the more natural human and animal side to living a more sterile, manufactured life that is devoid of being an actual like human being and more kind of like a machine in the corporate world. And then you have the down here, which is a landscape of trees. And I use trees as a metaphor to stand in for humans. There's a lot of different trees and elements of trees throughout the different works in this show. Think about trees and how if we're trying to cut down so many trees, if we treat trees so poorly and not them be able to just stay and kind of take up space, that same thing with humans where we don't like a certain type of human or somebody who's living certain ways on the paths of life. And the first thing people who kind of hate that taking up spaceness want to do is cut them down or destroy them. And so this idea of trees, how they are a metaphor for how we treat each other as humans, plays into it. So if we're okay with chopping down trees to make these like sterile, very similar high rises, are we just trying to conform all of these different people into one sort of way of living? And so that tension there, and then this internal tension with the person looking at themselves and looking towards these advertisements. It's more like peaceful look with a person that has more diverse nature scenes that are going in these little bubbles. And so this is made out of colored pencil, acrylic just for like these larger sections and the tiles, and then the ebony pencil. We're going to see some more colored pencils as we move along this way through the train. But first we got to go down to. So down here we have another ceramic figure, and this is actually one of my first ceramic figures that talked about this idea of trains and options and trying to find somewhere to go throughout. And this is called A Way Out, the tiredness of here, there, and needing to exist elsewhere. And I made this in 2019, but started this idea about the trains and using it as a metaphor for going through life. And as the years have gone by, I've expanded it into a more installational piece where we have this painted fabric on the floor with a train track behind it. This person here is sleeping and has headphones in, ignoring the viewers, whereas like the newer figure over there is laughing and enjoying the interactions with the people. This one is totally devoid of outside interactions. And so the viewer has the task of figuring out what this person's life is and what their backstory is. So if we can zoom in a little bit closer, we can see that there is a train station at the foot, and it says A Way Out, and has staircases and a tile floor and then train tracks. And then if you go over here, you can see that it's an outdoor landscape with the train zooming past on the back, and then it takes it to their living quarters. So it's this loop cycle of them going from the train station out of the city to their home and back again in this constant loop. And then they're also in a loop because they're listening to music. They're not really experiencing the things around them. They're always just wanting to be somewhere where they're not. This particular piece is more contemplative in and of itself, and also a more quiet piece. This piece originally has sound to it, but since we had the train that comes around every so often, I wanted that to be the outside noise because the person here is listening to something that we can't hear, and likewise this person can't hear what we're saying because they are in their own little world and kind of disassociating from society and the people around them. So that is the beginning of the station, and as we go forward we're going to be going into the train, but before we go there we must check our timetables. Corner, we have the questioning goal and the timetable here, which is called Every 90 Seconds a New Emotion Arrives to the Station. Title says at the top, the sense and the mood of a travel situation. But instead of places and destinations, they are emotions. And so we can see every 90 seconds a new emotion arrives to the station. According to scientists and researchers, emotions change every 90 seconds in the body. Even if your brain isn't like over the situation, the body itself moves on from a situation every 90 seconds. These are minutes, but it kind of goes together. It could be an hour. But with every 90 seconds, it changes to a different emotion. So we have like amazed, joyed, lonely, proud, hurt, scared, peace, loved, enraged, bored, hate, worried, tired. And then we get some more emotions on this side. And so I wanted to have this kind of display that goes along with the theme, goes along with the title, and explaining this idea of emotions and how they can affect you and kind of move forward, just like with the movement of the different career maps and the movements or the applied movement with the ceramic sculptures or moving the wheel of options. There's also this movement of your emotions will move whether you want them to or not. Saying that if you're at this particular emotion, maybe in 90 seconds that will change and you'll experience something new. And then we have the questioning goal looking at that piece in this particular installation because she is very grumpy. She is like the waiter where she's very grumpy. Both of them were made kind of at similar times, where I was feeling particularly confused about the world. But also she has like this very inquisitive mindset to her. She has her little hands on her hips and this ridiculous dress on. A lot of the times when you're young, people will place you in these outrageous outfits and scenarios. As a young person in the world, newly into the human society, things can be very confusing. And so she's, at this particular installation, is trying to look at this map to kind of figure out where she's feeling emotionally as well. And you can also see that she has some green hair that turns into brown. This growth that's happening for her with those colors. Just like how grass grows over a dirt patch. She has some growth and development happening in her hair. As we turn the corner, we go into the main event, which is being actually on the train line and in the train car. And so this one is called Gazing Turns Into, which is a sentence that is never completed because you are supposed to figure out what gazing turns into as you look around. But this is a diptych piece. It's all colored pencils and an ebony pencil to get the graphite looking drawing over here. And with some of these people here as well. And so you have a mixture of more solid, colorful people. Then you have a more transparent and grayscaled people who are not quite fully there emotionally or fully. And you can see how the more colorful people then have these influence areas that lead to the less colorful people. And even the guy over here has green in his eyes because he's looking at this guy over here and seeing that being inspired by this person sitting across from him on the train. We have the frames in a rounded yellow color so that it looks like the poles inside the pictures where you can hold on, and it makes it feel more like you as a viewer are also in this train car with them. As we look at the drawing itself, we have a sunset turning into the night on both sides. Through the windows you can see here, it's kind of a more pinky sky. You can see the buildings behind them with beautiful patterns and colorful siding and all of that, which is quite different to what we saw in the other drawing, which was more of a monotonous sort of place. But then we also have some more people towards the back, and you can see their influences as well. There's like this person influencing this guy over here. We have siblings, so you have this little kid here, and then it goes to their sibling over here. And then you have this lady who's quite cheekily looking at this guy over here. Loop that goes into this person's colorful influence. So all of these people have some sort of relation to each other. And you can see that with the maps on the train line corresponds to the relationship map that we saw at the beginning of the installation. And then we have all of these like unusual advertisements that say things like you can only buy so much attention, or have you called me yet? Have you called them? With this question. So they're not really advertisements per se, but they're also these kind of like thoughts that one has it being in relationship with others. This piece also took me the longest to make. It was from November 2021 to November of 2022, so a whole year. I was working on these two pieces in the hallway. One of my favorite pieces because it's also like you're trapped together in the scenario, like they can never really leave the train. They're all trapped in this endless loop. But also, because it's a diptych, they have to be together. And then if they're separate, it would be like a really bizarre singular picture. So it's also showing like the relationship between the two art objects as well, and how they have to be together, even though they can never really be together because there's like this split between the two frames. And so that's the same thing that goes along with these people. So you can never really be fully together with somebody else because everybody's on their own different journeys. Mm-hmm. Yep. So that is the Gazing Turns Into large drawing. And this piece is How Do We Repair from Human-Made Explosions? Now this particular piece was actually the first iteration of How You Think You Walk All Over Me, but I'm just telling you where to go. And in this installation piece, we have a box with a window that lights up the exploded ceramic piece here. When it exploded, I was like, I must still use this to not waste the ceramics because it was quite large. I mean, it was actually bigger than the one that was over there. I wanted to evoke the feeling of when you're walking in like train stations in Europe, around different places in Europe, and you have all these like ruins from like ancient times or recent times that are like enclosed off, so you can remember the destruction that happened in the past. Like macro and micro thinking with this piece. So like microly, how do we repair from human-made explosions? Interpersonally with others when we have arguments or disagreements. People like blow up at each other. Also macroly, about thinking about the world and how do people repair from like bombs that were made from other humans wanting to take over people's livelihoods and being really disrespectful to their areas, and how that all gets destroyed. And then also like with the natural disasters, which are also man-made because of the global climate change, and how large fires, and how do we repair from this devastating explosion or destruction that's ultimately made through human dealings and interactions. So that's the thought process behind this piece, and it also illuminates the time and work that I spent on creating that piece. And then also in the other room, I have some of the pieces from the explosion that creates one of the apartment houses. So again, how do we repair from these explosions by kind of remaking and reusing and kind of using it in a different way and trying to just repair. And then over back by How You Think You Can Walk All Over Me piece, that answers by being loving towards ourselves and others is a response to this question of how do we repair from these human-made explosions. And the only way I could think of is by being loving towards ourselves and others, which I don't think it's going to solve too much things, but it could solve some things. Okay, so then over here, we have the last piece of the train station area, and that is Have You Broken the Large Glass Comma Yet? And so this piece is a response piece to the Marcel Duchamp, The Large Glass, the Bride Stripped Bare by Her Bachelor's, comma even. His piece is a actual window that he used to kind of create a see-through thing, but then I wanted to make a drawing in response to it, still alluding to the glass being broken, and expanding upon this idea that he started about like virginity and breaking that into that society expectation of like marriage and husbands and wives, that was made in 1923. So that was kind of more prevalent on people's mind than it is really kind of today, but it's still quite an issue. And so here we have the top half, which has the birth, life, and death, which are the kind of the three actual truths that we have in society, is that we're born, we experience some sort of life, and then we experience some sort of death. Options on those maps at the start of the exhibition but then it's really like, okay, you could choose all those different paths, or you can go into those scenarios or express in such a way, but then it's like the real things that we have to, at the end of the day is these three simplified options. And then it has like a hand graffitied, have you broken the large glass, and then in charcoal, yet. So this idea of have you broken the large glass yet has been expanded to have you done the next thing yet? Have you done this next thing in your career? Have you done this thing in religion? Have you done this thing in relationships to others? So it can really depend on who and what point of life that you're at in which you are experiencing these things that we can experience in society. And then I also have cherished the world because, again, at the end of the day, humans are experiencing this earth and the world, and you have to be mindful about that. And then as we go down into the second half, we have a self-portrait of myself breaking the large glass and the illusions that society puts on through like politicians and all these people who want to monitor and control your existence. We also have like some protester people on the side that are kind of like trying to not have people just do what they need to do in life. I kind of broke away this illusion because these people think that they are like controlling the world, or people think that these people are controlling their lives, but when really you have the choice to break through those illusions, and kind of realize that you have your own, you're the one who can break the large glass if you want, and you just have to get over the barriers, which will be what we see in the next room. Yeah, so it's playing off this illusion, and then breaking through the glass, you have things like humanity, love, compassion, hope, and dignity. Those are the things that people should automatically get to experience in life, but as we know, those are not, due to a lot of these barriers that people put upon other people or the pressures that they put on them. So in this image, you break the large glass, breaking these illusions of all of these like fears and anxieties caused by society and the world. This piece also ends the first room installation with the contemplation ideas, the kind of more anxiety, overthinkingness of how you're supposed to be in life, and like how that goes along, hold you back if you don't break the large glass. And so we have now broken the large glass of all of this overthinking and struggles and mental thoughts, and we get to go into the second space off the train. We are off the train and into the actual world around us. So we're going to say goodbye to the train at the train station and then head off into our exits. Okay, so here we go. So we come down this fun ramp that's at the Chesterton Art Center. So here's the nice ramp. And then as we go down, we get opened up into the train and into the outside world. And we'll come around here in a second. Okay, so here we are in the bottom half of the gallery space. And as you see, we have disembarked from all of the contemplation and seriousness and life, contemplation and struggles. And we come into the bottom space, which is much more open and free. And so we're going to start over here and then come around to the time critter at the end. Okay, so here we have the three triptych piece of people coming off of the train and into the world. So we're going to take a closer look over here. Okay, so here's the first piece of the colored pencil triptych. And as you can see, it's out of the glass. There's no frame to it. It's very open, as the viewer can feel like they're part of this journey as well. And so the first one is, where do we stop and where do I begin? I utilized the properties of colored pencils to create transparency, and as you can see, the people are quite transparent, and the ground behind them are more solid, saturated quite heavily. We as humans are always passing through these solid areas, going off into the world. You have these different structures that humans have built. There are the things that are solid and stable, and the people who come through those spaces are the ones that are transient and on the go. And so we have different people with different expressions and ideas about what they want to do. Somebody is more happily walking towards the destination, another one is kind of rushing to go there. Others are kind of distracted by different things. It shows there's different ways that humans can experience the same moment at the same time. And then we also have the transparency. Where do we stop and where do I begin? You're looking at these different people. You can't really tell whose legs are who. Where does one person start and where does the other one stop? Kind of that enmeshment of humans and how we interact with others and how close we can get with others versus how separate we can be, coming and goings of life, and who's going to be in your life and who's not, and who's at some moments and who's are not moments. That always happens in life as you continue on the path of life. Very bold colors. I wanted the colors to really explode once we got out of the train station. So like the patterns that you see in the pieces with the floor, the ground, and the ceiling are also, of course, on the you think you walk all over me, but I'm just telling you where to go piece. That set the stage to then to be part of the background and backdrop in the first two. And then you also can see a way out is referenced with the train going through the forest. This one is how will I know if we are staying or passing through? Again, going with that theme about who's going to stay in your life, who's not. Are we going to stay in this one path or are we not going to stay in this one path? And then some people from the first are still there, but then we have new people that come in, and then some of the old people leave, rotating in these new people that you're experiencing in your life. The repetition of movement of color and pattern that allows patterns and cycles to keep continuing as we go through the space. And so you can see that these two, actually this group of people are from the original, but then we have this trio that's new, and so it's kind of fun to see who is coming, who's going. And this guy accidentally tripped on the grate there, so everybody's having their own little paths and struggles with life. And then the rushing in the other one, he's continuing to rush up those stairs. So the first one is all colored pencil with just a little bit of acrylic for the dots on the sign, and then this one is all colored pencils except for the acrylic on the stairs and the frame on the advertisement. And then over here we have the final of the diptych, and this one is bring back the trees, and this time the trees are a little bit more enveloping, like the glass breaking haven't broken the large glass yet, but also like this expanding path up into the sky, like how we had the groundedness of the religion map and then the universe going off into the space. So again, playing with the groundedness and the more spiritual, ethereal side of things. And this one is who am I meeting and who am I leaving behind? And so it kind of concludes not only the triptych, but then also who am I meeting? Like, am I going to meet somebody new, or am I going to meet a new version of myself, and what versions or people am I leaving behind? Movement that's going through the piece. People that are staying from the first one, but then we have even more new people that weren't even in the second one. You always have these people coming and going out of your life and spaces. And then we also have hedges, which you'll see the hedge, and that's the first thing you see when you come into the room is a giant hedge. So I had those kind of playing that as well, so it's all connected. And then they're just going through, they're going off, and then we don't really see them again after that. And then we have a pigeon over there. The final figure piece that we have as an installation with the theme, the continuous theme of the train to the outside of the train into this space. This one is freedom only happens if you can let go and get over the barriers. And so just like we were talking about with the large glass and trying to break through those barriers and illusions that hold you back, this is again playing off that theme where you have like these people in charge or trying to monitor and control what people can do and not do. And you have these people who are getting over those barriers, which is a train signal and barrier to like make sure you don't go through where the train's going to happen. I have like these cluster of people over here which are now out of the frame, they're out of glass, and they're off of paper, and they're kind of existing in here in two-dimensional space. And they're looking over to these people who are kind of letting go and trying to get over these barriers. And they're like wondering why they can't get over those barriers. So there's like society, political connotations with that, and like the inequality of people in spaces and who can get access to what and who cannot get access to things. And so these people are like, well, we're gonna try to get over the barriers, but it's like, how can they get over the barriers when they can't, both mentally, physically, and emotionally, but also because of like systematic choices that society tries to put in place for people. So this is the conclusion of all of the thoughts and wraps up the motif of how do I choose, or how do I be and go in those different spots on the map, and like thinking about those in the train while you're on the train car, and then you come out here and then you're like, well, the only thing that's stopping me, you know, are these barriers, and how can I get over those barriers to move forward. Okay, and so then after that, all that contemplation is over, then we get to enjoy the world as we are and as it is. And we have these pigeons. And these pigeons are an installation called People Hate Pigeons Because They Do What We Can't in Public. And again, just like the trees, pigeons are a metaphor for human beings and how we treat each other. And pigeons are one of the only animals that have adapted to city life in an open way, where they can navigate through the human-made constructions and societies and kind of navigate and have their own little society, which I find that to be quite interesting, that this animal has also adapted to human customs and behaviors. And it also shows like the hardships that it is to live in a city, as well as all these like things that we've made are hard for people to live in, and even that is exaggerated through the hardships that pigeons go through. So if we look at the different pigeons, you can see they're all unique individuals. There's some flying and coming down into the landing. And then we also have some over on top of the hedge over there, kind of flying and hanging out on the hedges. Here are the pigeons down here. They're all kind of hilarious, and they do their own little thing. And they're all individuals, and they're all working together and coexisting. So that's the pigeon installation. Okay, and then over here we have the apartments and the kiosk. And these are all different drawings, also different stylized housing. And you can just see the day-to-day lives of these people living their own life. That guy's catching a bug. Those persons are baking food, you know, so it's all kind of mundane living scenarios, enjoying their space and their time. I want to be like when you come off the train, you can see the apartments and like where people are living, because normally you can't really see that when you're coming off trains. But it's always kind of fun to walk past the buildings when you come off a new stop, and you can see what those neighborhoods look like. So this is what my neighborhood would look like if I had one. And then we have the kiosk where people can buy souvenirs from their journey on the train. You have the time critter magnets, coloring pages, and maps, prints. And then we have two sides where people can write, who do you love and what do you love? Because most of the things in this installation are things that I love, and things I think about a lot, and a lot of everything that brings me happiness and joy and greatness in the world. I was able to put it up here. So I want to give the question to the audience or the viewers to see what they also loved and who they loved as well, to kind of give that more interactive space, because I do like having interactive moments for the viewers to kind of feel like they're part of the exhibition as well. So you can see some responses on this side. And then more responses on this side. Okay. And that's just chalkboard paint with chalk markers that people can write with. And then in this corner we have 2 more apartments. The apartment over on the other side is the one that was made from the exploded, how to repair from human-made explosions. So that's over there. And then these 2, we have like the modernist apartments and a flower house. And so again, you can just see little bits of people's everyday existing. These people are changing a light bulb. Colorful, lively, fun time in the spaces. And I just wanted to didn't want to overthink those things, kind of these small moments that are captured in those expressionist drawings, but very colorful and very fun and freeing. Okay, and then the last thing that we have in the exhibition here in the installation is the Time Critter and the Consumer. This piece I made in 2019, and it is a ceramic figure. And then we have the Time Critter at the side, and so you can see they're on the bench there. And then we have the flyer that the person finds in the video into this person's life. Okay, so the Time Critter and the Consumer is a video installation, and the video projects into the ceramics cavity inside, and all of the ceramics are different images of not only the show in there, but also different memories. So like the apartments are all different small moments of time. The Time Critter is all about those moments, because the Time Critter is a story about a person who happens upon this flyer that is for a now defunct company that created these things called Time Critters, which drops a pile of blank photographs, and then the consumer is supposed to have and take those with them, and then every time the Time Critter appears randomly in their life, they have to give one of those photographs away. At the end, as the movie progresses, you can see when the moments the Time Critter comes and chooses to capture this person's life. By the end of it, the consumer gets quite nervous because they don't know what's going to happen, and rightfully so, because at the end, the Time Critter will take the last photograph, and which then turns the consumer into a statue of all these different moments in the life. And so the Time Critter sentence, wanting to be remembered when your company has no obligation to. So this idea of how are you going to be remembered versus how people remember you. And when you take your photographs of your life, it looks different than other people around you, how they will remember you or take photographs of you. And this idea of like wanting to be remembered, but your company or your person does not have any obligations to, and which kind of plays off this idea from the triptych about these people coming and going into and out of your life. Final sculptures in this installation, In Motion on Entrain at the Chesterton Art Center. It was here from July 8th through August 30th. Thank you for listening to all the different pieces, and hope you have a great day, and remember to always break the large glass. Okay, bye.